myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true. It feels alright.
Good evening, welcome to NUFC Matters. It is the start of a new week and Newcastle United were in action today on a Monday, a 1-0 defeat at the hands of Mainz in their latest pre-season friendly. You're shaking your head, Joe. What's the matter?
Well, he's going to have to go, isn't he? How out? Botman out. We need revolution. Have you watched the match?
I did watch the match, yes.
Some of us have been to work, you know.
Oh, so do you want to give you a match review then? Okay, my view of Newcastle United versus Mainz. Newcastle dominated possession. I thought the first half was better than the second half. Obviously, there was a hell of a lot of changes today in personnel. Again, it was hot out there. Same for both teams, of course. I thought in the first half, Sven Botman carried on where he left off in the end of the last game. He was majestic. He's not a panicker. He strokes the ball around well. He looks, you can see every reason why Newcastle United purchased them. There wasn't a great deal to do for either keeper in the first half, so it was difficult really to judge Dubravka. He did what he had to do well. Kieran Trippier getting more vital minutes under his belt. I mean, he should be as fit as a lop going into the new season. Chris Wood, disappointing. I'm a Chris Wood fan. I know what he can bring to the squad. He wouldn't be my first choice centre forward. Had a couple of chances, blazing them over the bar, knocking them wide. Same old from Chris Wood. It probably has to be said about the first half. A frustrating day, I guess, for Bruno. Certainly a one he'll not really want to remember. Certainly he will remember, I don't think, at all. And Paul Dummett went off on the half-hour mark. I hope that isn't an injury to Dummett. Certainly just, might have been a precaution. Matt Ritchie then coming on for Dummett was, pleased me. I'm a Ritchie fan, but it was just a typical pre-season fare. 0-0 at half-time. Went into the second half, a vast amount of changes, all across the pitch. Thought I might have revitalised this a little bit, bringing ASM on, bringing Wilson on. ASM watch for me. I thought he was better this half than he was probably the half he came on. In the previous game, there was a bit more zip about him, but still frustrating. He did lay the ball back on a couple of occasions though, rather than opting for hitting and hoping. And those shots were blazed over the bar as well. Star performer in the second half for me, Elliot Anderson came on superb again. I thought he held his own. I think what we have to bear in mind with this friendly, obviously, is that we're playing against a team that's had its full pre-season friendly. They go into league action in the next game, so they're a few weeks ahead of us on fitness. It didn't really show. I think sharpness and finishing is where we lost the game. And I think, isn't it always the same that when something breaks in the newspapers, there's a narrative created by a journalist, i.e., we're probably okay for strikers, which is the way that Eddie Howe's interview was interpreted by Craig Hope, that we then have a game where we don't score. And I think that will pile the pressure, certainly on social media, on Newcastle United to go out and buy that striker that they need, because ultimately for me, there is still clearly going to be an issue with goal scoring if we are simply relying on Callum Wilson. But that's only judging this off the friendlies that I've seen so far. And it is difficult to judge a team when it's friendlies and they're bringing on so many substitutes and changing the game and changing the dimension. It had a feeling today, that game, of a game which we could have been playing till midnight tonight, we wouldn't have scored. That's exactly how it felt. And it was, it's just the way it is sometimes in friendlies. You said to me before we came on air, sometimes it doesn't do any harm to have a result like this. It brings you back down to earth. And I think that's right. 2 games, 8 goals scored, 1 conceded, 2 wins, floating along, on the crest of a wave, bang, back down to earth, beaten by Mainz, 1-0. Tonight, there'll probably be people on social media, I'll avoid it like the plague, who will be having a pop, who'll be saying this, who'll be saying that. And I genuinely feel, it's just part and parcel of it. We are going to bring in somebody now who is, you say I don't work. Look at this guy. This guy's supposed to be at work. Liam Kennedy.
Hi.
Does that work?
Hi, can you hear us?
Yes, loud and clear, Liam. Loud and clear. I've given my armchair fan opinion of that match. Yep. So I'm glad you weren't there to hear it, because it certainly won't influence what you say. Give us your opinion on today's game.
Looked like a team who had a lot of ball, struggled to create chances, is the way I would describe it. Defensively looked reasonably solid. I don't really think there was any particular issues there. But again, it was just having a lot of ball, a lot of passing maybe for the sake of it, moving it from left to right, and a team that I think what I'm pointing out here is the obvious stuff that the manager knows himself as well. He knows that he needs to add players. So all this talk of maybe him just going with Callum Wilson or whatever, that's not my understanding at all. They're going to try and sign a striker. I've seen a lot of Twitter anger at that kind of suggestion, but they're going to try and sign another striker, and they clearly need one. I think they need to sign somebody a bit more creative as well. I think they're just lacking in ideas and endeavour. It's not for a lack of effort, but maybe just some poor decision making, a lack of incisiveness in the final third. I'm always trying to take some kind of positive from games, and what I would say is, having been here in Austria for the full trip and seen Elliot Anderson in the last 2 games, I think the biggest compliment I can pay to that lad is that he looks every bit at home in this Newcastle United midfield. Physically, looks to have really grown into his frame. Very clever movement, always looking to find pockets of space. It does mean they have to slightly change the way they play. And I think that affected someone like Joe Willock, who had to sit a little bit deeper when Anderson came on. But I'm really excited by Eddie Anderson, and I think it's one of those things that Eddie Howe's got a big decision to make on him. He obviously doesn't come into the 25-man squad because of his age, which is a positive in his favour. Is he ready to maybe perform on the Premier League stage? I mean, only Howe will know that, and maybe we'll only know that when he's given a chance to do that. But I think there's probably a better chance he stays now than there was before this trip, because I thought it was obvious he was probably going to go to the Championship. But he's definitely given, of anybody on this trip, for me, he's the one that's given Eddie Howe probably the most to think about. The trip as a whole, I think they've enjoyed it. I think they've enjoyed enjoyed is one thing. It's been quite a really intense camp from Newcastle's perspective. A lot of double sessions, training before the games, so there has been a bit of fatigue in the games. I think that was less so today. You didn't see a lot of that today. It was probably more just a lack of ideas in the final third that probably cost them. But yeah, I wouldn't. What I would say about it is, it's not one to get too excited about. I know a lot of people do. I haven't had a chance. I've had Wi-Fi nightmares. So if I do drop off here at any point, it's not because I'm not enjoying your company, lads. It's just more because it's been a nightmare. I've had to rewrite one story 3 times already because it just keeps dropping off the system. But yeah, it's been a good trip. Really positive. Fitness levels have gone up massively. They're a really fit side now. I don't think there's any doubt there. And that's probably the biggest question mark you had over this team at the start of last season, was that they just weren't fit enough for the Premier League. You're not going to get that this time. But it's the same problems. I think the main problem that had to be addressed this summer is still to be addressed. It's still a question mark. Can they add goals, and can they add creativity into the team, which is what they needed last season?
Barry Hogan asked a question right at the top of the show, asking how bad is the Shaw injury? I mean, is there any injuries to report? Liam, Dummett went off after 28 minutes and Richie came on. Was it just precaution?
No, so Dummett was pre-planned. We were told before the game it was going to be half an hour. 30 minutes, Dummett come off pre-planned. There's no injury. It's just about easing him back in. He's obviously had some kind of issue. Richie was being eased back in as well, having not played the last game, not been involved at all. So he got half an hour. From 30 minutes to 60 minutes, and then it was just a regular change on 60 with Fabian Schär. He's all right. I think it's just a bit of a knock. It's not. It was a precaution. He actually popped up. You might not have seen it on the feeds that you might have seen, but he basically popped up straight away and was ready to carry on playing. The bench called him over and said, "Look, just come off." It was only a couple of minutes short of when he was coming off anyway, so they just got Dan Burn ready and stripped. But yeah, I think there's nothing major to report in that sense that there's any injuries come out of this one. There's a few carrying knocks. There's a few behind the scenes who maybe weren't involved today who've had issues. Jamal Lewis is one of the ones this summer that was probably coming in with an opportunity to really stake a claim in the squad and has had to sort of do a lot of training alone. When we went to the training ground the other day, he was doing laps around the running track with one of the fitness coaches. It's a shame for him because I think he had an opportunity this summer, and he might still, but it's never great in your favour when you want to stake a claim and you have to end up missing out the majority of the major work that's done in the summer.
Yeah, no, I agree. Any sign of the owners out there? Have you seen Amanda and Mierda? Have they popped out there for this, or have they left it to Eddie and the boys?
Yeah, I've not seen them. I'm not saying they haven't been here, but it's not been obvious if they have. They've sort of, if they've come out, which I've not seen them, and I've not heard anybody talk about them being here either. If they've done that, they've probably just mixed business and pleasure and had a little bit of a holiday as well. Not that anybody who's come here to Austria has done that, by the way. Just putting the sunglasses in there.
I love it. Well, you deserve to wear your sunglasses.
Can I ask Tom Cruise a question?
Yeah, go on.
Liam, interesting what you were saying there. We've been talking about the potential of bringing in Parketta or bringing in that kind of attacking midfielder over the last couple of weeks. And one of the questions that people have been asking is, do we need him? Do we think that would fit? Interesting what you said there about Elliot Anderson and actually playing him in that position and how that might then upskittle kind of the formation that we've seen and the way that Eddie Howe's Newcastle have been playing. Do you think if we were to bring in that central midfielder, that central attacking midfielder, or give Elliot Anderson a chance this season, how much of a detrimental effect would that have on that midfield, do you think?
I think the mentality is if they can get a quality player through the door, even if it's not a prime position, that they'll do a deal. So I've been told on numerous occasions that Paqueta isn't really on the agenda, and it seems to be a fan thing. Look, if he becomes available, they do like him as a footballer. If he becomes available, then the price can be done, and other deals that they want to do prove impossible to do, then you will start getting to the stage where they'll just do good deals. And whether that means slightly altering who plays where or putting somebody in that you wouldn't obviously replace. And I think one of the keys this summer was they desperately wanted Sven Botman. You can see he's a quality player. You probably, if you looked at the team of last season, one of the only players you probably wouldn't definitely take out of the team would be Dan Burn. But they didn't. They just wanted to get a quality footballer through the door. And I don't really complain when it comes to that. You can't have enough quality footballers. We need to get away from that mindset of just thinking about the starting 11. You need a squad. You need a squad of good players.
He played on the right or left of the back four, Liam?
He played on the left.
Right.
Yeah, he played on the left. Spoke to him the other day, and I actually asked him that question. Bit of an NUFC Matters exclusive here, but I asked him that question, and he said he basically paraphrased and said he's come here to play on the left of defence. So that probably gives you your answer.
Right.
Interesting. Good stuff. An exclusive there, certainly. Ivan Toney's getting mentioned over here, Liam. A couple of more questions for you. Ivan Toney's getting mentioned. Is that something the club are actively looking at, do you think?
So again, it's not one I've heard, but I think it's there's a lot of plates spinning at the minute. I think that I said it on here. I think last week when I was on, the monitoring the market, and if somebody becomes available, like Tony's one, they've got a word in with. So if that situation changes, then I think they could go for him, but the price would have to be lowered from the ridiculous demands that were being asked earlier in the summer. And Calvert-Lewin applied, Diaby applies, Jack Harrison largely applies to that as well. They're the type of players that they want to sign. But we'll have to see. I mean, it could be one that's rekindled. Like I say, there's no way I can stand here and say that that's definitively off. That's definitely on. So I mentioned Paqueta earlier, and just because he isn't on the agenda at the present doesn't mean he won't be on the agenda in 3 weeks' time. There's still a fair bit of time to run on this window. In an ideal world, you want all the players through the door for the first game of the season. In an even more ideal world, they would have already all been here. But that's not the world we live in. You can't always do that. So yeah, I think they'll get players done. I think everyone just needs to not get too excited. There's far too much excitement I see on social media, and I haven't checked any after this game, but I'm sure there's a lot of people getting very excited about the the negativity that's, oh, we've lost to such and such. We didn't do this. We didn't do that. So I'm not really gonna. Just my advice would be just stay a bit more level-headed. It's pointless getting up and getting down, and just trust the process. As Steve, you love saying that, and it's absolutely spot on. The manager, transfer committee, Steve Nixon, Amanda Miedad, Dan Ashworth now as well. They've done good deals. They've signed the right players. I think there's probably only one player in Chris Wood you could probably argue they made a mistake. That's pretty good going, that the amount of players that they've signed only make one mistake, in my opinion. Most managers, if you sign 5 players and some have 3 of them work, you've done really well. So if you take that logic, they've done excellent. The players have signed. So yeah, we'll just have to wait and see how it plays out. They've got another game on Saturday. They're playing Burnley on Saturday in Portugal. They're flying home straight away tonight. I think he's probably going to give them a day off. And then they'll obviously do a bit more training, but they want to be away from the training ground while the redevelopment's going on. So I think they're probably only going to have one day before they're off to fly to Portugal again on Friday for that game against Vincent Kompany, Craig Bellamy as well at Burnley, and that'll be a stern test as well, because it's been a long and tiring, but really productive and fruitful by the sounds of it. Camp. It was amazing. I obviously haven't spoken to you guys since I was actually at the camp. Incredible. We got to watch maybe half an hour training session before we're shifted on. And it really surprised me. I've not seen an intensity like that before. I put a little video up and some dafty came on and was like, "Well, that looks like a kickabout in the park. That doesn't look very intense." We couldn't film the intensity. We couldn't film the proper stuff because it was proper drills that that coaches don't want other teams seeing because they've devised them. It's their intellectual property, effectively, isn't it? So we couldn't film any of the proper stuff. But wow, like, you talk about train how you play. Like, we were close. Like, there's balls flying past me and right next to him. We're only a couple of yards away from it. Wow, the tackles, the speed at which these drills are done. It was mind blowing, to be honest, to see that kind of thing, and just being up close and personal and seeing the camp and seeing the positivity and the talking to the players and there's a real good feel about this, and don't let a silly result today and maybe a lack of chances created, some poor decision making, whatever. I'm not seeing it again, but I thought the goal was ridiculous anyway. I thought it shouldn't have been given it. The lad wasn't even 5 yards in my 10 yards, and the referee just waved it on. You can't legislate for that. There
was a couple of bad decisions by officials in that game, and it is what it is. There wasn't.
One thing I want to know, because I'll have to go as well. One thing I want to know is obviously Kieran Trippier took full responsibility for that error. And the bench stretched all the way along basically one side of the pitch right in front of us. And he walked along every single one, coach and staff and all the players, and said, "Sorry, lads, sorry, lads, sorry, lads." He said sorry to every single one on that thing. That's just a measure of the man. And that's why he's going to be captain going into the new season, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly. Top class. Jamal Lascelles being announced now as club captain, though. Final thing, Liam. That's, I think that just shows again how good and important he is, at least in the dressing room. And I think there's a few of these characters who we thought were going to go are going to stay for that reason. In a lot of ways, they're on contracts that can be beneficial around the club, and it's still a transition moving from the Ashley Bruce era. We're still transitioning a little bit, and these people are going to be a big help in the dressing room.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think Jamal Lascelles, I think it's about continuity, it's about squad building. I think that's one thing that these people who have football manager mentalities don't understand. You're not trying to build 25 superstars, you're trying to build a squad. And if you never really know, if you take one player out of a squad, it might upset other players, it might upset the balance. It's all about squad building. It's not necessarily about always keeping the best players or getting rid of the ones who you think maybe haven't got this, haven't got that. So I think it's about squad building. Obviously, it's clear to see that Jamal Lascelles is the club captain. He's been captain for about 6 years. He's a popular member of the squad, and he's a decent player as well. He's not a bad player. And we know that. He's probably fourth choice centre-half. Let's not beat around the bush. We all know that. But I think it would probably be more upsetting to remove him from that position and keep him around the squad. It would be a very strange situation. So I think it's all about squad building. It's about getting the right blend, getting the right mix. And I think Eddie Howe is trying to strike that balance, as every Premier League manager will be this summer.
Liam, we're going to let you go because you'll end up having to cut the grass here. I can see the guy.
I know.
You're going to end up with a job, and you don't want to work when you're on holiday. I mean, covering things for Newcastle. People asking loads of questions. We'll get Liam back on. He's back in the flow. He'll be back on NUFC Matters when he's back on Terra Firma. Safe trip home to you and Jordan. Thanks for the report, Liam.
Cheers, lads. Enjoy.
Take care. Great to see Liam Kenny there. Absolutely brilliant. Good to have him back on the platform as well. He's back to his brilliant best and buzzing and getting ready for the new season. Couldn't take your questions, folks. We had too many that we wanted to ask him. But me and Joe are here for the next 40 minutes and we will jump in a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about Lascelles, Joe, because obviously that's a big decision by Eddie Howe to give him the club captaincy and to say that he's going to be here for the duration. And I've got to be honest, he played okay when he came on today. We all know Lascelles can be 1 minute the best and the next minute the worst. There's an error in him every so often. How much game time is he going to get when you've got the likes of Dan Burn and Sven Botman and Fabian Schär in front of him? But we know injuries and suspensions play that part, and he's going to feature clearly at some point. So it's pointless rocking the boat and taking the club captaincy off him if he's going to be part of it.
And I think that's the thing, Steve. Really interesting there, Liam talking about Sven Botman. It sounds like Botman's got his position. He's playing on the left-hand side, and that's the end of that by the sounds of it. In terms of Lascelles, though, I honestly thought that this might have been one of the lads that we would have let go, particularly if you're thinking about reducing the wage bill, because I'm sure he's one of the top earners. But actually, in the context of his leadership, I know obviously Rafa Benitez spoke really, really highly of him. He was only a young lad at the time, and he's rattling much more senior players in the dressing room and such like. So yeah, obviously he's bringing some quality in there, Steve. And it's probably a shrewd move from Eddie Howe, isn't it? Like you say, why would you want to upset the apple cart too much? We know that he's not going to play. We know that he's not going to be playing against Nottingham Forest, barring an injury crisis. We know that Kieran Trippier is, I'm 99% certain that Trippier is going to be wearing the armband for the season. And we talk a lot about these club captains. Look at people like Mark Noble, for example, fantastic ambassador for West Ham United. Last 2 or 3 seasons, he's barely played. So I can see that there's a role there. I can see that having another leader around the place is a great idea. It'd be ideal to have kind of 11 leaders on the pitch, as Tony Adams used to talk about. But he's not going to play, Steve, is he? So I think we'll get our wish in terms of we'll get our new captain on the pitch. And, I assume that the vast majority of us are behind Kieran Trippier for that. Lascelles gets to keep his club captaincy, and he's going to have to get used to sitting on the bench. So in many ways, I suppose everybody wins. And if we get to January and Lascelles is becoming disillusioned and he's played no games at all, then maybe we'll look to move him on then. I often wonder what a club captain does as well, though. You kind of think, are you just there kind of to be on the front of the programme and, have your photo took with the new shirts and what have you? So good luck to him, Steve. Like you say, I've seen the very best of him. Unfortunately, I've also seen the very worst of him as well. And I think he's much better in the air. I love watching him in the air. He's a great, big, strong lad, gets his fair share of goals for a centre-half. But thinking about what Liam's saying in terms of bringing in quality players and Sven Botman being your number one target this season, and we brought Dan Burn in and Fabian Schär, Eddie Howe's clearly, he's a big favourite of Eddie Howe's. Lascelles' stock is just dropping, so probably a win for everybody, I think.
No, definitely was. I'm just looking at the stats from the game, and I mean possession: Newcastle 52%, Mainz 48%. No red cards, no yellow cards, and Newcastle caught offside once, Mainz twice. Fouls committed 20 by Mainz, only 9 by Newcastle. Corners 5 to Newcastle, 2 for Mainz. Shots on target for Newcastle was 4, as to Mainz's 5. Shots wide, Newcastle 4 to Mainz's 2. So equal pretty much on shots. And obviously Mainz winning 1-0. It tells you what kind of game it was. It was tight. They both closed each other out. But like I say, Mainz are getting ready to kick off the season now, and that's not bad. And they're a Bundesliga side. They're they're tough opposition, Joe.
It's a fantastic point, Steve, you know, and you're dead right. You know, the Bundesliga is about to start. So hopefully by the time we're playing kind of, I don't know which way around it is, but by the time the Atalanta game comes, I'd like to think that we've got 25, 30 players who are actually at it, you know. So, yeah, the interesting thing, listening to you though, Steve, and listening to what Liam was saying, one of the things that we really have to focus on here, listen, forget the result. It's immaterial. The thing that we've got to focus on is the effort and the endeavour. And Liam's talking there about the tenacity and the training sessions and how the tempo is. Let's be honest, you and I sat in the same part of the ground at the beginning of last season, wondering what on earth these players had been doing. Me and you could have run around, well, I certainly could have, I'm not sure about you. But we could have done a lot more, particularly in the centre of the park, Steve. We looked leggy and we'd only played 90 minutes of football. So I think if nothing else, even if Eddie Howe was to say, look, we get beat 4-0, but if the intensity's there and the fitness levels are there and the sharpness is there, we'll hit the ground running against Nottingham Forest. So, you know, let's take the positives out of it. Who on earth are we at the minute? We're doing a show called Transfers. We've linked ourselves with £2 billion worth of players in a month. We can't be negative at this moment in time, Steve, surely to God. Yes, we need strikers. We know we do. You know, Liam's just said it. It's no surprise to Eddie Howe. We know we're looking at that right-hand side of the midfield, you know, that right wing position. That's no surprise to Eddie Howe. So let's just keep the faith and, you know, they'll keep doing what they do on the training pitch and Dan Ashworth and Amanda will keep doing what they do in the boardroom and it'll come together.
Yeah, and I much prefer to lose this game than lose against Notts Forest. You know what I mean? That's what it's. We're working towards finding what our starting 11 is for Notts Forest. It's as simple as that. And you know, let them get on with it. That's what I say. Bill Smith, lovely to see you too, mate. He says, hi, Steve. Great catch away yesterday morning. Hope you enjoyed your walk. I always enjoy my walk, mate. It was a bit hot this morning, mind. I was out and I went a different route today, and I've got to be perfectly honest. It did get very, very hot towards lunchtime, but I was back home by the time it hit 34 degrees. Sean says, I really bad to think this way, but I can't help feel underwhelmed by transfer progress, having had so high expectations when we got the takeover. What do you think of that? You know, that kind of comment. That's not, you know, unusual to see that, is it really? But a lot of people are feeling a bit underwhelmed. So
it's interesting, Steve, because, you know, listen, we all got carried away. Essentially, we are owned by one of the biggest, you know, the trillionaires, aren't there? You know, we've got trillionaire owners. So I think naturally, you know, we've all had a moment either in public or quietly and thought, how then, where's Mbappe? Where's Messi? Where's, you know, and just going out and as Liam called it, doing the football manager thing. So I can see why signing, dare I say, Dan Burn, Matt Targett, Nick Pope, they're not exactly world-class superstar front cover of FIFA 22 footballers, are they, you know? But I don't think, if you go back to what was said, this football club literally needed starting again from the top to the bottom and back again. So I think it's slowly. I think for every unfashionable signing, Sean, we've signed Bruno, you know, for every kind of Chris Wood, you've signed... You know, you're going to sign Diaby, for example. So I can see why people are underwhelmed. I can see why people wanted this to be Abramovich's Chelsea or, you know, Sheikh Mansour's Man City or whatever. The world's changed now. I think for me, you know, I was delighted that we were signing Burn and Targett. That was progress to me. Yes, it wasn't exactly Bobby Moore and Roberto Carlos or whatever, but that's coming, Sean. You've just got to stick with it. So I still think we've maintained right the way throughout this show, and we'll continue to do so until until the moment that they sign. I still think that something is coming, and whether that's Diaby, Paqueta, or somebody completely left field, I still think there's a big one in the pot for you. So keep the faith, mate. We'll get there.
Space Raider, I'm not sure whether it's the heat or whether you're being serious. I hope Wilson gets injured. You should never hope for something like that, mate. It might force him to buy someone. I can get you being frustrated, Space Raider, but wishing injury to one of our best players isn't the way forward, mate. And, you know, you say that we're happy to lick the backsides of the owners. They like the backsides being licked, but they deserve some criticism. Wait till the transfer window is closed, mate. Wait till it's closed. They're doing business the right way. I think you've just got to have that bit of patience. I can understand the frustration, but at the same time, you know, it will come good. It will come good, just like you said, Joe.
I think the other thing, Steve, as well is, you know, for us, it's not necessarily. I guess the ironic thing is this is called a transfer show, but we've signed one of the best footballing directors in the game. We've now just got one of the top CEOs in world football. I was listening to what that guy's done at Atlanta United, and it sounds absolutely wonderful. We're making changes to St. James's Park. We're making changes to the training ground. We've got a women's team. We're talking about the academy. So it's not just about signing a £200 million centre forward, is it? So it'll all come together. But there's only 24 hours in a day. So while the guys are working on God knows whatever they're working on from a corporate perspective and from an infrastructure perspective, you've got to let kind of Nixon and Ashworth get on with kind of signing the footballers. It will happen.
Yeah, Sank says Eddie Howe should be desperate to declare Lascelles as captain, which probably will be no transfer on Lascelles' position. I wonder how many minutes Lascelles will take next season as fourth choice centre back. Sank, it's a club captain position. We believe that potentially on the pitch it will be somebody who is selected on the day. That's what Eddie Howe said. So I think Lascelles is the captain. However, if he doesn't play, then whoever is on the pitch will be deemed captain on the day. So we would imagine if Kieran Trippier is playing, Kieran Trippier will be the captain. If Trippier and Lascelles are both out, then and John Joe Shelby's featuring, it's going to be him. I think it's a collective responsibility, and it goes back to the tweet that I put out yesterday, which is you need 11 captains on the pitch, and to have that camaraderie in the dressing room anyway. I think that's the mindset. We're all in this together. We're all battling in this together, and it's not a bad way of doing it. And you've got Jamal Lascelles, who's clearly respected in the dressing room, who is taking on the captain's armband per se. Okay, big shout out to our sponsors, Spider Miner, worldwide coverage, the only cryptocurrency miner that can mine 5 different cryptocurrencies at the same time whilst using virtually no energy, and it's VPN protected. Buy yours now at www.miner.spidervpn.org. Thanks to Skips and Bins, telephone 0800 25 45 25 3, email inquiries at skipsandbins.com, website www.skipsandbins.com, easy contract free and pay as you go waste collection. Thanks to L&G Family Funeral Directors, 01913897245, and a Garden of Healing Dispensary, CBD hemp and cannabinoid specialists, www.johd.com. Thanks to Away Day Clothing. We will give their website address when we have it. And thanks to qtechshop.co.uk, the makers of pool tables and snooker tables in Wales and Newcastle, and the guys who run our website, NUFCmatters.com. Thanks to Mr. Vicky's. You can see that they are handmade in Cumbria, all kinds of sauces from King Raga to Chipotle to like a banana sauce there for your food, but you can find them at mrvickies.co.uk or 01768 210 102. Thanks also to Media Arts for all the help with their video technology. And if you want to subscribe, hit the Newcastle Legends logo in the bottom right-hand corner and you can subscribe for free. We still do 7 shows a week. Hit the thumb up to like the video, click share to share your social media. Drop into the comments box and speak to like-minded Newcastle fans. We're only 29 subscribers away from hitting the magic 49,000 mark. So if you aren't a subscriber, please subscribe today. We're also available as a podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and other podcast providers. Usually goes up 24 hours after the YouTube show has finished. If you want to become a member, Ian has joined tonight. Thank you, Ian. Then you can click join underneath tonight's video and pay a small fee. It just helps go towards the running costs of the system, including StreamYard. If you want to spend a little bit more money, then you can put your smartphone over the QR code, takes you straight to the NUFC Matters membership pack section, or go to nufcmatters.com and click membership. Pay a £25 one-off fee. You get a cup, a pen, a membership card, and a scarf, and entry into the monthly draw. If you like something for now, let's face it, who doesn't, then you can get a free car sticker by subscribing to the show and then emailing John at nufcmatters.com and he will post you one out. We also support the food bank on the show. NUFC fans, foodbank.co.uk is the virtual matchday bucket, and you can make a virtual donation 365 days of the year right there, and it does help go towards the food bank and help some poor families in the northeast who are struggling in these times of austerity. You can also bid on the Pato PI t-shirt. Can you believe we had to explain what this was to him? you probably can. But yes, the Keith Patterson PI T-shirt, Magnum PI, that's where it comes from. For those of a certain age will remember. Place your bid. And I think Joe bid £75 on this. I think that's the current bid. I think he's borrowed £74 off Keith Patterson to put a bid on it. But
I need something to wash the car with. I need something to wash the car with, Steve.
But yes, it's posted at the top of my Twitter at Steve Wraith. Give us a sub while you're there. But place a bid and we will announce the winner of that on Friday. Don't forget as well, NUFC Matters Score Predictor, the Super 6, as organised by Joe. Join the Matters gang, entering into our own league, £10 per entry for the season, cash prize winner every month, exclusive Manager of the Month t-shirt, cash prize for overall season winner, trophy and Manager of the Year t-shirt. Sign up now at nufcmatters.com. And please support Peter Beardsley Soccer School, Monday night training and July-August summer camp. Booking available now, and you can get the information at peterbeirdsley.soccerschool.com. I think that's about it. Oh, yeah, the Shearer raffle. Online now, $2.99 a ticket. Enter now, and you can win a signed Shearer ball. NUFCmatters.com is the place to go and enter. And Gibbo and Frank Clark, Monday the 5th of December, only 10 tickets left. Tynemouth Surf Cafe, Monday the 5th of December. Check out their website and you can buy your tickets today. Let's talk about this man, Darren Eales. You did mention him a little bit there. And we've got a chief executive at long last. It's another big signing, Joe. And of course, those who like to be negative Nellies on the timeline, they do forget that we are doing a bit of surgery behind the scenes. And we brought in Ashworth, although it was a prolonged agony for that gardening leave to end. But now we've acted, accordingly. And I love what Meerdad said. It's we're building a skyscraper here, he said. And that's just a vital part of it.
Yeah, I picked up on that comment, Steve, and you just think, wow, what a statement that is. And we all know, of course, that particularly our majority shareholders like to have the biggest skyscrapers and bigger than everybody else's skyscrapers. So this is a massive sign, and we talked loads about Dan Ashworth coming, didn't we, about that kind of footballing brain and kind of bringing all the departments together on the pitch. This fella, the work that they've done at Atlanta was absolutely stunning. I mean, there was a podcast going round that was kindly shared to us all on Twitter, and I listened to it and just listened to the guy talk about, we literally took nothing. They were going out. He said, what's the best thing to do? Get opinions from the fans. Quite a drinking culture in Atlanta. So we just went round all the pubs. I spent all day, all weekend just listening to people. What colour shirts do you want? What's your favourite hamburgers? What's your favourite sauce to put on your hot dogs? What's your favourite beer? Do you prefer Starbucks, or do you prefer Costa? And all this stuff, just listen to the guy. And actually what he talked about was how they've gone from nothing in a really unfashionable sport, and particularly in the Atlanta city, to now suddenly pulling in crowds of 75,000, I think he said. Absolutely unbelievable. And all of the things, and I promise you, and I promise the listeners, the viewers, at some point I'll stop talking about the last regime. But can you imagine Lee Charnley or Mike Ashley worrying about what your favourite beer is, Steve? And we couldn't even stock the fridges in the 1892. We couldn't even get the tills to work. And all of a sudden now, you've got this guy coming in with that real commercial head on. And what he was saying is it was about the heritage, it was about celebrity, it was about bringing kind of halftime kind of performances and local celebrities and getting the best out of the corporate setup, but actually doing it all around the fans and the city of Atlanta. And I think the one thing that Newcastle United has not had for the last 14 years, or maybe 13, when he was in the crowd with his Alan Smith top on having a beer with the fans, you kind of got away with that. But one thing that this football club hasn't done, Steve, is it has not give a shiny shit about the likes of you and I and the people watching this show. It hasn't really connected with the community. It hasn't done anything to kind of upkeep St. James's Park. It just hasn't been interested. And if this guy is going to come with a business head on and say, right, leave the football to Ashworth, I'm not interested. What I'm going to do is build this into a global brand. I remember in the 90s, you know, you used to get those kind of, you could buy towels and stuff in the catalogues, and there was always Man United, Liverpool, Chelsea, Arsenal, and Newcastle United. I haven't seen Newcastle gear, you know, outside of the Newcastle club shops for years. So all of a sudden, think about Newcastle becoming a global brand. Then all of a sudden you talk about the sustainability. So whether we've got rich owners or not, the club will start to pay for itself. You know, the commercial deals that he done with Atlanta. And the fact that it just sounds like an amazing football club with an amazing atmosphere, an amazing place to be. So I think this is an absolute masterstroke, Steve. And, you know, it's like you say, people are getting frustrated there. You know, I know he's not a centre forward. You know, I assume he's not very good up front. But I tell you what, there's more to the football club now than just having a centre forward. So I think this is class.
Interesting to see the opinions coming in tonight. And I mean, you know, these people have the opposite opinion to other people in the chat. Keep it sensible, keep it polite in the chat. But I like the way that people are putting across the points. Blue Rhythm Boy says, compared to what we've been used to, this window has been great, including the improvements behind the scenes. If we get no one else, it's been a good one. However, there will be more deals done. Jam Cake. Don't know how these owners can sit there and watch that dross today and not act on it. And how is happy with the attacking options, clearly. We are one Bruno injury away from a terrible season. Jam Cake goes on to say, I agree the tables are turning, fans are getting up a height, and so they should. This window is a disgrace. Owners sitting there allowing us to play Murphy and Almiron, saying £55 million for Diaby is too expensive. Jam Cake goes on to say, and he's backing up Space Raider here, I agree with the comment that PCP and the Rubens can't compete with PIF. If PIF spend, then PCP and Rubens have to pay a percentage, and they can't keep up. We need Rubens and PCP out to progress. Interesting. First real words against Amanda Mirdad that I've seen. And I got to be honest, Jam Cake, I don't know, and Space Raider as well, I don't know what the accuracy is behind that. Financials isn't my strong point. Maybe I need to look at that and, you know, come back to you. I can't comment on that as far as that's concerned. I think Mitch and Steve Hasty are your men for that. But yeah, look, it's all about opinions. And if you put your opinions across as positive ones or negative ones, I'll read them out on the show because we're all fans of the club. We all want to see the club progress. But what do you make of those particular comments, Joe?
Interesting, Steve. Some very interesting points made there. I like you, Steve. I don't know how the finances work. This kind of Nick DeMarco used to show us, didn't he, with bread buns about how it was all going to get carved up. You know, listen, I don't know whether they say, right, we're going to spend 100 million, therefore we'll put 80, and Jamie, we want 10 off you, and Amanda, we want 10 off you. Not entirely sure that it'll work as literal as that. I don't know whether it's been a case of, right, the Reuben brothers, what we want from your 10% is a new training setup. We want a new stadium and we want the infrastructure in and around the ground. Usually the experts in kind of, you know, development and building works and such like. Amanda and Mirdad, what I want you to do is look after the business. So I want you to go and appoint a CEO. I want you to go and appoint Dan Ashworth. I want you to kind of choose the manager and all that stuff. And we'll put the cash in. You know, that's how I assume it works, Steve. You know, I've got to pick up on the fact that these guys have been absolutely nothing but kind of a fairy tale to us and to our football club since you first met her in, was it 2017, I think, Steve? You know, Amanda stood by us and she is now, you know, figurehead in our football club. So to say that I don't think these people are in the business at all of sitting by and letting mediocrity happen. I've said it a few times on this show. You do not become top of your game in any industry or in any business if you settle for mediocrity. I don't suppose for a second that they're going to get on the phone to Eddie Howe now and say, what the hell was that? We've just been beat 1-0 off Mainz. You know, so I wouldn't read anything into the result at all. The only thing I'm reading into is we've got some serious owners now, you know, and they talk a lot about collectiveness. They talk a lot about pulling together, but they talk a lot about doing it right. And that point about the skyscraper, you can't put the roof on before you've put the foundations down. You know, so this is what we're doing. You know, we're starting from the bottom. We'll get all our ducks in order. And then we'll spend our 500 million in the transfer window at some point in the next couple of years and watch it go, Steve.
Barry Hogan says the new owners are amazing. We have hope again. I don't know where we finish. As long as for the first season in a long time we don't mention relegation, we will get there. And Kenny comes up with this one. He says the club have dropped the price of the half-time beer to $3.60 apparently. Jack Sparrow, me too, mate. He says, I must say I was impressed with young Anderson today. I thought he was superb. Colin Wilson says, Rachel, you may as well bang your head on the door. Some people will just not listen. Yes, they're all entitled to opinion, but come on, why all the negativity? Jules, good evening. She says, we always knew the makeup of the consortium in terms of percentage ownership. That doesn't quite equate to an expectation of what they should spend. And Rachel says, exactly, Colin, it was pre-season match. This is the time to try different tactics. People think we're doomed after a loss. Kenzie is one of those who isn't happy with the spending so far. I'm feeling like Oliver, asking for more. Then other fans look at me like Mr. Bumble, all furious and unbelieving, saying more. And Geordie Toonbalife doesn't think that Jam Cake supports Newcastle. What is going on with people, says Chantel. PCP and PIF are competing with each other. They are working together. Hawaii man, says Blue Rhythm Boy. It's like renovating a house. You can't do all the work over night, and it was Amanda's persistence that got the takeover, says Brian H, which is a good point as well, isn't it, Joe? That Amanda did put the time and effort into it. PIF put all of the money in for transfers because you own 10% doesn't mean you have to pay 10% of every transfer. Tim says, seriously, we've come a long way in 12 months. Patience required. John asks a question. He says, hi, Steve and Joe. Do you think that Newcastle will get a new striker and right winger in before the Forest game? Me personally, I do. Joe, what do you think?
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. I do.
Yeah.
I think they'll bring people in. I don't think they're going to allow us to go into the season. This is what the pre-season friendlies are for.
Absolutely, Stephen. It stands to reason, doesn't it? We know we don't score enough goals. We know we are over-reliant on Callum Wilson. We know that the fans are over-reliant on Alan Saint-Maximin to turn the magic on every minute of the day. Eddie Howe's not daft. He knows that Wilson's knees aren't up to 40 games, I'm guessing. And he also knows that Saint-Maximin isn't that reliable, unfortunately. So it doesn't take a football genius. We sit and watch it every week, don't we? It doesn't take a genius to know that we need to concentrate on moving forward. But I always, we've said it time and time again, where do you build a side from? Where did the great Arsenal sides of the late 80s and 90s, the Liverpool sides, that Manchester United side under Ferguson, yes, they had fantastic attackers, but I tell you what, it was all built on absolutely solid defence and solid foundations off the pitch. And that's what we're emulating. That's what we're doing. The signings will come. And if Diaby is available, we will sign Diaby. If Paqueta suddenly goes on the transfer list, we will sign Paqueta. I think we've just got to keep the faith.
Paul Capewell, it is money well spent when you buy tickets to go and see KK. He does the same show on every occasion. It's always the same. He does, PowerPoint. Doesn't talk a great deal about Newcastle, Paul, but just getting a chance to be in the room with a great man is good enough for anybody. Moanfest galore. What's next? Getting Ashley back. Some people just need to stay away from a keyboard, says Kamal. Alan says they would not have bought Newcastle if that was the case. Handicap from the start. It was PR season friendly today. And fitness, pre-season friendly today, fitness, he says. I'd like to see Elliot Anderson play right wing. Some of his runs today and Friday were incredible. Very positive on him so far. A lot of positivity on Elliot Anderson, Joe.
Yeah, interesting, Stephen. That was the question I was asking Liam. Like I say, I didn't get to watch the match because I'm the only person in Teesside with a job. But we've got a real... We've got a real dilemma on our hands with this lad, haven't we? We're talking about Paqueta for 50, 60 million. You're talking about other players that we've been linked with. Do you know what? We might have one sat on the bench or in the reserves or in the academy that might just be ready to go. Personally, I've made my opinions really clear. I still see this lad going out on loan. But I tell you what, on the flip side of that, if he keeps performing, Steve, in the way that you're describing, if he keeps putting a shift in, we said last week, there's the ball, son. Go and do what you want. Show everybody what you're made of and shows that you can play in a midfield with Joe Linton and Bruno et al. And if the lad wants to do it and the lad's going to do it, hey, it might give us food for thought in the transfer market. It's interesting, though, isn't it? The point being that if he's going to play directly behind the striker, we talked last week about Miguel Almiron, where's his best position. Lots of people would tell you that that's in behind, behind kind of a central striker or a front two. If this is the same with Elliot Anderson, I don't see Newcastle Eddie Howe's this 4-3-3 formation. We don't necessarily have that, what we would call, central attacking midfielder, Steve. So, and then suggestions, so shall we put him out right then? Shall we put him out left? And all of a sudden, are we just trying to put a round peg in a square hole just so the lad can have a game? I'd rather adapt the formation and see him in his absolute rightful position than just sort of put him in just because we think we should, because I don't think that'll do him or the team any favours. So, be an interesting one.
Yeah, no, it definitely will. Jody Tumpalay says, evening, Stephen Joe, and I just say it's not about today's results, but 2 injuries could cost us big style. Bruno and Wilson, then what? Hence more quality needed for this season. Yeah, I mean, that is the worry, isn't it? If we did go into the start of the season without any more acquisitions, that you're always constantly worried about getting injuries.
I'm certainly more, obviously I don't want to say either of those players out of the side, Steve, but I can't believe I'm going to say this, but if I could choose one to get injured, I'm much more assured that we've got strength in depth across the middle of the park than we have up front. I think you take Callum Wilson out and all of a sudden you're back to Chris Wood and players out of position like ASM as a striker, and we know that doesn't work from what we've seen. So I'd certainly be worried about the Wilson thing. But listen, I know nothing about football, so if I can see it and everybody else can see it, I'm damn certain that Eddie Howe, Jason Tyndall, Nixon and Dan Ashworth can see it as well. So if we need a striker, we'll sign a striker.
Yeah, interesting one. This again, it's not a name that I've seen come up. Life Goals says, Joe, what do you think of Bamford being linked with a £50 million move to Newcastle?
I've not seen that actually, Life Goals. No, I've not heard that. What do I think of Patrick Bamford? If you listen to the Middlesbrough fans, the people who I have to equate with, they'll tell you he was great. He was up here for a while and he was banging the goals in a fairly average side, I suppose. People were expecting him to go on and do big things. Obviously, he never quite made it at Chelsea. You only have to look at the impact that he's had at Leeds United in terms of kind of the difference in their results when he's in the side and then when he wasn't in the side. The only thing is, if we're talking about, God forbid, Callum Wilson gets injured, you wouldn't bring there you go, Dan's hit the nail on the head. You wouldn't bring Bamford in, would you, as a kind of, oh my God, he'll definitely play 40 games for us because he's less reliable than Callum Wilson is. So would I sign him for 50 million? Absolutely not. And especially if you're thinking about, Steve, the guy that you're a fan of, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, although he's had his injury problems, of course. I think I'd put my money on Calvert-Lewin than I would over Bamford.
Yeah, you can look at strikers and say they all have their moments where they're injured, though. You know what I mean? So it's one of those situations. Adam Armstrong's been linked as well. Somebody in the chat earlier on saying, "What about Adam Armstrong?" He's not Premier League class for me. I don't think Adam Armstrong or Ivan Toney is the answer to Newcastle's goal scoring problems. And for somebody who we sold for 500,000 in Ivan Toney, to bring him back for 30 million just doesn't make economical sense. And I just don't think he's the person who would change things either.
We'd look daft, wouldn't we? We talked about these players last week, your Isaacs, Tammy Abraham, was linked. I am sure that if you're talking astronomical sums of money for centre forward, Steve, it'll, dare I say it, and I hope this doesn't come back to haunt me, but it'll be on someone better than Ivan Toney, definitely.
No, and Adam Armstrong, 100%. John says, how isn't helping himself by saying he's happy with what he has up front? He's fully aware we're not and risking a good season and not strengthening that position. Some of it's kidology, Joe, though, isn't it? In this transfer window, some of it is kidology. They're not going to play all their cards. It's like a game of poker.
Yeah, and what's he going to say? What is it? It's like me sitting here now and saying to you, I have to be nice to you, Steve. I'm not going to sit here and say, you're terrible at this. You're a terrible host. You don't keep up with the comments. Your subscribers are rubbish. Why would I do that? So the idea very clearly is, what does that do to the mentality of Callum Wilson, of Sam Maximin, of Chris Wood, of Dwight Gale? if I was to come out and say, do you know what? Yeah, our strikers are absolutely shite, and I need to go and sign 3 tomorrow. I'm sure the lads know that. They know that we're in the markets for strikers, but you would not come out and make that public knowledge, in front of the lads, because what happens if we don't get somebody over the line? That dreaded phrase, I sounded like Alan Pardew there. But what happens if we don't make that signing, Steve? He has to then turn around and look Chris Wood in the face and say, look, mate, Wilson's knackered. I didn't sign the 3 strikers I wanted. You're the main man now. What's Chris Wood going to do? If he's anything like me, he'll stick his 2 fingers up at him. He'll do a Dwight Gale and he'll say, I'll show you, pal. I'm not playing for you now. So, of course, he's going to say he's happy with what he's got. But I tell you what, I don't know, I know he's gone to Barcelona now, but if Lewandowski turned up tomorrow, you're going to sign him, aren't you? It's like what Liam was saying, if the quality's there, we'll do it. But it doesn't take Eddie Howe to come out and say, yeah, I've got no faith in Wood and Wilson at all. It just doesn't make any sense.
No, it definitely doesn't make it. It doesn't make sense at all. Talk Sports, as Tim mentioned, Ronaldo. He's not what we need unless shirt sales are the priority. No, we don't need Ronaldo. Zapata is another one. Barry Hogan has brought that up. Maggot Drowner as well. He says, was it right today that Zapata has his price set? It's 15 million. Look, that's it. That's it. Zapata or the other guy from Atlanta that we've been linked with in the past would be possibilities. I just think a striker coming in would be good. Even if it's a short-term one, would be the right move. But it needs to be the right kind of striker. It needs to be somebody who can score goals, hit the ground running, and score goals.
We do, Steve, and I had that little theory about these big, tall teenagers, and it'll be really interesting to see what the blueprint actually is for a centre forward. Are you looking at an Aguero, or are you looking at Peter Crouch? What are we actually looking for? It'll say a lot about kind of the way that we're going to play. I mean, Callum Wilson isn't the biggest, tallest guy in the world. We've just had Chris Wood. We didn't get a massive amount of crosses whipped into the box for him to get on the end of. So is Howe thinking about changing the mindset, or have we got 2 or 3 strikers up our sleeve? Names that we've never even considered, names that we've never heard of. I'm not entirely sure as much as he's a cracking player, but if you're looking at Zapata, I'm led to believe he's the other side of 31 now, I'm led to believe. Is that a deal that we're going to do? Short term, 15 million, maybe season and a half? I don't know. Or do you look at the Hugos of this world and think, hey, a bit like Botman, we can possibly get him in this side for the next 10 years if he wants to stay here? So we'll see, Steve. We'll see. The other thing as well is, don't forget, we're talking about world-class strikers. What did Eddie Howe say about Hugo? Eddie Howe said, this is now the market. This is the competition we've now got for signings. So we're not battling, with the greatest of respect, Brentford and Burnley anymore for players. We're actually battling PSG and Barcelona for players. So without European football, without Champions League football, that's going to be really, really difficult, Steve. So it might not be that we get the megastar striker that we all think we should have this transfer window. We might have to wait 2 years for that signing, But what we do know is we will be signing a forward. It's just who, I guess.
Yeah, Kenny Ransom will finish on this. He says, Newcastle are right not to pay over the odds for a striker. Holding out will send a message that we aren't just going to roll over, and who is available at a reasonable price. Trust the process, which is the message that Joe and I have been pushing out on this show for the last hour. Thanks to Liam Kennedy for jumping on tonight. Thanks as always to Joe for keeping us company. I'm back tomorrow night, 6 o'clock with Ross Gregory. Until next week, Joe, see you then. Take care.
Take care, guys. Good night.